talking about emotional baggage and
Yeah, yeah,
letting things go, right? Furniture from my house because I'm selling my house and this sort of thing. And that's really interesting because that's on topic for are you on the right career path? Because sometimes you have to let go in order to find out what's next, don't you? You know, and that then there can be this emotional attachment or a misplaced obligation that one has to
yeah.
continue on the career path that you're on, even though you might be as miserable as sin. You look and go, well, I can't get the money anywhere else, so therefore I owe, so off to work I go. It's a really important thing for people to step back and say, really? Put a question mark there. Oh, do I really have to continue down this career path, or can I change it?
Mm.
And maybe you can't change it like that, but I'll guarantee you, the moment you make the commitment to yourself to change, to be more satisfied, to get more out of your job, you'll start changing things around you. You'll create that expectation, right, Jack?
That's right. And I mean, our topic is an interesting one. I totally understand. Sometimes you got to let go of a vision you have that you're holding on to. This is what I always thought I'm going to do, and maybe it's not, and maybe it's just a small deviation. And sometimes it's also you think you may want to change, but then you realize no. So it's a balancing act or a real good discernment to decide and find out for yourself, no, I am actually on the right career path. Maybe I need to make some tweaks, or maybe, like you said, I need to let go of something, which is not always easy. Let go of a certain vision, a picture in mind, to move into something new. But and I've seen it, and you would have seen it with your clients, how freeing that is. All of a sudden, oh wow, there's new energy coming if it's
Mm.
the right thing to do.
So
If it's not the right thing, yeah.
let's talk about this for a moment then. How do you know it's the right thing? How do you know that this is the right career path for you? What measuring blocks would you suggest, Jacqueline?
I would say that first you need to set some time aside, and maybe with a note block, and take some notes. And really, you could start with something, it's called like automatic writing, and you could say everything I like about this job, this path, where it's coming from. And when you're sort of in the zone, it just all comes out. Whatever, it could be that, yeah, as you said, it could be that a parent has said that may be a good idea. And then everything was not. And then, also, it's not just a rational decision, because you can rationalize until the cows come home and you will never come to a result. It is how you feel internally. Do you feel drawn to that? And if not, could there be some obstacles? Could there be something that's not working that's really pulling you down? And you might have to work on that obstacle that's in the way, but you're actually drawn. Is it giving you
Mm.
energy? Is it pulling you in a direction? Or is it like, oh no, it feels like hard work? It
Yeah.
basically that's what it is. And when you take notes and you see things and you see sort of your thoughts and your feelings and everything that's coming out, and you think, yeah, I do like this other path. And as you said, it may not be something that comes very quickly. You may have to put a plan in place. You may have to pay bills and you can't just leave your job and move. But if you have the vision, okay, that I need to tweak it and go this direction, then you can put steps in the way. And it comes down to how you feel about it
Mm.
virtually.
And that those internal conversations and when I'm working with my clients on this particular topic, am I on the right career path, I always talk about their values. I always say, well, is what you're doing aligned with who you say you are? Is this something that is taking you towards your vision of the world, your your big statement that you may not even achieve in your lifetime? But if it's aligned with that or supporting that vision, then there's a much higher likelihood that you are on the right track. And again, I love that automatic writing thing you just came through with Jack, because Socrates says first know yourself. Well, here's a good way of knowing yourself, and you can sit at a computer and just write it out. It's nice to use handwriting though. There's something tactile about that. There's something, I'm going to say almost magical, but
It
but
is.
I guess if you're familiar with a keyboard, then fine, go do that. But just tell yourself your story. You'll see the stories in there. You'll see, oh, then when you look at it and it's in black and white, you go, well, that may not be quite true. You get
And
the opportunity to start responding and start working with your block of clay if you want,
yeah, yeah.
and
And the thing is also, I mean, I want to just come back to the handwriting. I know the sort
mhm.
of younger generation is really attached to the keyboard. I mean, I'm also in a way, I can barely handwrite anymore, but I can. There is something between the hand and the mind, because they're very connected, because we use our hands all the time. So actually handwriting does make a difference versus typing it in. But as you said, if handwriting is not your thing, typing in is the next best thing to do. But
Mm,
also,
mm.
with your vision and goals, sometimes you also want to revise that. You want to have a look at, maybe
Yes,
my vision, my values have changed. Maybe,
that's
oh,
right.
I now have a family, the values will change dramatically, as we know.
Hmm.
And
Mm.
then people, or you want to understand making those adaptation. And the thing is also, I find, like talking about family or other responsibilities, it can be elevating to take on these responsibilities. It's not like, oh, this is now I have to do
That's
this.
right.
It's an elevating thing. Oh, now I have a family. I need to look after my family. This is not depressing. I find this is a positive
Mm.
motivator, owning that responsibility as part of my journey, and then sort of looking, so what's a good career within that?
That's a really interesting way of looking at this, Jacqueline, because this is the reality as human beings. We get a choice, right? And I heard a term the other day. Um, what is, and I'm trying to see if I can get this right. Anxiety, anxiety,
Excited. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
anxiety.
Excited. Yeah.
So you take anxiety and reframe it. And it's reframing it is quite deliberate. I did it this morning myself, as we discussed earlier. I'm selling my home and moving into an apartment. That is really anxiety generating because there's a lot of money going everywhere at the moment, and it's like, whoa. And I can let that play on my brain, go, oh, look, because my reticular activating system screaming at me, be careful, be careful, be careful, don't be dangerous, don't get in danger. Yeah, yeah, right. But it's like jumping out of an airplane. If you've got a perfectly good parachute on and you want to do it, go ahead. It's your life. And it's exciting and it's exhilarating. And I know that when I get to the other end of this particular journey, I'm going to be very relieved I've done it, because a lot of work and a lot of stuff's going to disappear. But you really got to be prepared to get out of the comfort zone. You've got to be prepared to look at yourself and take control. In the Andrea method, we talk about taking conscious action. Be who is it that you need to be so as that you will naturally take the actions that will deliver you what you want out of life.
Th- this is so good, because you just sometimes you drop these nuggets, and as if it's nothing, kind of thing. Like the thing is, it's like people can easily overhear that. What I didn't just overhear, overheard.
Right.
Um, it's this thing where when you aligned with who you authentically are, I'm just using different words
Mm,
for what you
mm,
said,
mm,
and you follow your inner guidance and your vision, then
hmm.
it's an accelerator. It can be challenging, like your situation at the moment. It's challenging
Yeah.
you right in center, but
Hmm.
it is also exciting. It's moving you forward. You're
Mm.
thinking of, in 6 months' time, this will all be over, hopefully, and it's all done. And also the whole journey of, you now moving into a new place, which is like moving into a
Don't
new career,
underestimate need for
letting,
intake.
sorry?
We had a bit of a freeze there. You were saying that,
Oh, right.
and then
Yeah,
it'll all be over. And the other thing I was thinking about that, Jacqueline, and because I hasten to talk to our listeners about this, make sure you have integrity around whatever actions you're taking, whether this is a career that you need to make some adjustments to in the way in which it is so that it aligns with your values, or whether you actually have to say, no, I'm going in a completely different direction. And that happens. That's a normal state of life, change happens. And when I talk about integrity, I mean making sure that you have the means to get the job done. Again, like swapping the houses, I need to make sure that I have the cash and everything's going to work out and that I've planned it, I've thought about it, I've know exactly what I'm doing. And if I don't know, I go make sure that I do know. So there aren't any dark spots anywhere. So you've got to have
that's
the courage to look into the dark spots and go, okay, well, I don't like that. I particularly don't like that, but hey, I need to know that that's a possibility, and I need to know that that's a possibility. So you are doing this in an integrous way. This will uh, multiply the probability of success.
it will. And it's another really valuable point. If you are changing the career and you are changing jobs or roles within a department and you move to a different team, what you want to leave behind, you want to leave with integrity, as in, you've closed all the jobs that you needed to do, you've done a proper handover. So you don't leave a nasty aftertaste, as in people think, oh, they just left and left it all to me. I mean, I've been at the receiving end of that, and you just think, okay. And that's also very satisfying for yourself. Then, you feel good about yourself. You've done your duty. You've, completed what you needed to complete, and others will view you in a positive way. And for you never know, you might have come into contact with them again. They might become a client. You never know. The world is
Well, let
quite
me tell you a
small.
story, Jacqueline.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Once
Go
upon a
ahead.
time, there was a young man called John Williams
All
who
right.
was who was working in a community newspaper that was under a lot of stress, and he got offered a new job, a much better job, and he was leaving, and he decided, in his infinite wisdom of a 22-year-old, to send an email. It was a letter actually to the managing director of the company he was working for, saying, "Hey, listen, man, this is why I'm leaving because of all this, the other thing, da 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 da." Feeling totally justified in my own mind. The managing director took the time to come to the small town that I was working in, which was a flight, and took me out for lunch. And he put the
Wow.
letter on the table. Yeah, he put the letter on the table, and he said, "Just a word to the wise, John. You never know. You write this to me, and I can understand. And some of these points you're right. I get it, but you've created a record. You've given it to me, and you've basically told me off. And you just don't know what will happen in the future. What happened in the future?" What happened in the future is 3 years later, I was working for another company, and this executive took over as the managing director of one of my major clients. And so I had the humiliation or whatever, I don't know, but it was a marvelous thing in a way because I went into his office and said, "Well, you couldn't be more validating than this, could you?" So yes, tidy up, be careful. If you are making a move, Believe me, it does happen. It does
Wow,
happen,
wow.
and it's
That
one of
was
life stories.
a really well-rounded life lesson that you've learned.
Well, fortunately, thanks to I won't name him, but thanks to this guy, I learned to that hey, at 22, you don't know everything, mate. You're not reading the whole tea leaves. There's a reason he's in the big job and you're on your job. And so if you can accept that, what is, and even if you think you can be better than them, fine, go about being better than them. But you don't make a mess. Don't mess around where you are, and make sure when you leave with integrity. This word integrity comes again into play. Be responsible around it. Uh,
And you also sort of hinted towards the younger generation. Now, I don't want to pick on the younger generation. I very well remember when I was young, and we've just remembered when you were 22. So I have that in my mind, but each generation is a little bit different. And each generation, I know when I was young and I was at university, I thought I can do this all because I didn't have the experience and the picture to see what can all happen. And it's
you don't
like,
know what you don't know.
why shouldn't I be able to do that?
Hmm.
In yeah, anyway, I did
Look,
need an extension for that particular experiment that I had in mind. And my boss or professor at the time said, "Oh, I'm not sure whether you can do this in this time." And I thought, "Why not? Why should we do this?" Anyway, I did need an extension, which was fine. You can get two extensions, so I did need two extensions, and I got it done.
and
I got it done because I was
that's
yeah,
and that
and
can be some of the beautiful things about being young and being brave and courageous and going out there and saying, I can do this and I'm going to go do it. As long as you stay alive, right? So
there's
that there is that. There is that. Don't be
there
silly.
is that as well. So I did get it done. And yeah, and I do also understand, like when you're younger, you've whether you've studied or you have some previous experience, and I know this also from my clients who have sort of smaller to mid-sized businesses. They, sometimes get someone in there, they're 22, 23, and they think, why shouldn't I become a manager
Mhm.
right now? Or next year. And I'm not, I don't want to laugh about it as such, but there is a little bit of patience and experience to consider. And the thing is also sometimes, you can see let's say there's a person that's been 5 years in that particular role, and
Mm.
you come along and you think, and whether you're younger or not, it doesn't matter, but you're the newbie and you come along and you think, well, I can do that. Why shouldn't I get this salary of the person who is 5 years ahead? The thing is, for a
Mm.
company, these 5 years ahead, they know this person. They know this person has been through challenging times. They know this person has stood their ground. So there is the knowledge they will deliver. But if you knew you've changed your path and you're starting at a new company, you have to show that first. And
Mm.
that's
That's right.
different. And people
They're
sometimes say,
paying for
but
the
I can do that, but we don't know
yeah,
how you are responding when we are under pressure.
yeah,
We haven't seen that yet. And
that's right.
and whether you leave after 2 years or whether you hang around like, another person for 5 years, and that is worth something to a company.
Yeah.
So take that into consideration when you change your path. You might be a fairly, a manager somewhere else, and you're going to somewhere else and you're also managing, but people don't know you yet.
Well, that's right. And there's payment for the job you're hired to to do, and then there's additional money, additional worth. When you show your worth, and this is worth talking about too, actually. Um, you often hear people say, "Oh, well, I wish I got paid more." Well, are you offering more value? What extra value are you offering your employer? What is it that they need that you can provide and are you prepared to do? Are you prepared to go and get some education that you might need. I know an example, and I came across when I was involved in broadcasting was in New Zealand, that being able to speak Maori was an important thing. Have te reo fluent.
Mm.
And so, people would go and learn that that was a valuable skill. That was so they got paid more than if you were monolingual. So, and that's of benefit. But go find that, and this goes to another point. Talk about what you want. Talk about it in your workplace, what it is that you want out of life. Talk about it in networking situations. Talk about it wherever you can, because you don't know who's listening. You don't know who somebody else might know. Now, obviously, I'm not saying you're a walking billboard for yourself, but be interested. Show interest. If you are interested in gardening, for example, and you're working as an accountant, which is a long way, a long stretch, make it known that you're interested in gardening. You might end up being the accounting for a nursery firm, and then there's this passionate you got your passion at the same time as you got your profession.
That's right. It also comes back to the topic that always comes back in our sessions is communication. I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
I uh, it's not the first time that I had clients that were ready to leave a
Mm,
company that um, where they were unhappy with what they were doing, but they actually really liked working there. And I said,
mm,
so, okay, so you like all of this, and I liked it because I thought, wow, that's pretty cool working here. And then they realized they just wanted to add something to their job role. One
mm.
of them, I remember, he wanted to do more mentoring and coaching, and I said, okay, well, why don't you talk to your manager about that and see if they, maybe even sponsor some training, and that's what they did. And all of a sudden, he went off, he did a coaching certification. He's still with the company, and he's now added this to his job role,
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
mentoring and coaching. And sometimes it takes, you talk to your boss.
Yeah,
I
you really do have to sit back and take a good look at yourself and listen to yourself and understand the stories you might be telling. Oh, I can't get into this mentoring and coaching here because, well, I'm not being offered the opportunity. Well, have you asked? There's a simple question. Have you asked? Oh, no.
it,
Find the courage and the character to take yourself on. That's what Andrea's all about. That's what I go on about all the time. Hey, come on. Who do you need to be to take the actions naturally that'll give you what you want? Well, in this case, your client needed to be honest and open and have a healthy relationship with authenticity and then speak with the courage to speak up. And magic happens. Well, it's not
it
quite
is
magic. It's humans being human to each other.
that's
People
actually very
people
well
want you
put.
to succeed. People want you to be happy. Nobody wants you to be miserable. Who wants to have miserable people in their company?
Yeah, that's a miserable
I'd,
person, and you might be in the wrong company if that's the case. I
I'd
mean, if
rather I'd
that is the
rather help
case,
them leave. Like you know, I
and that
always when I was going to say I always help my employees understand that I only wanted them to work with me for as long as it suited them. Then I had freedom to talk to them when it didn't suit me anymore. We worked together so as well and understand their career paths. How can I help you? How can I help you grow? If you're a really, really hot manager and you're ready for promotion and I don't have a place for you to go, I would rather we work together. You tell me where you go. I can plan for a replacement, right? And support you in where you are going. So, your employer is very much a partner in this situation. Um, Certainly, if they're, and I think most employers are really caring and they care about their staff because they know the value. They want to keep their staff, but they also know that staff have a right to grow and to further their careers. So one of the suggestions I think listeners should do is talk to their bosses, be open, be be clear, and partner with them. You never know, they might be able to help you out almost immediately,
Yeah,
like your
that's
coachees did. Yeah,
that's
here,
right.
have some
And
training.
and they didn't expect this. They were thinking, oh, my
Mm,
boss is not gonna do this. Well, you don't know if you don't ask them. They were actually really enticed with the idea of, having someone in the company who can do some qualified coaching with their team members.
yeah.
Um, and it also, I mean, it is also these type of sort of things, and communications and building relationships and trusting, these aspects of being are not taught at university. They're not really taught at school. So when you kind of come out of this education system, and that's also what a lot of employers now notice, is that because these relationship building qualities are not really fostered and educated, employers have to do this. So also what I'm sort of pledging here for the younger generation, that there is something to learn these, you have learned negotiation techniques, but it's not so much about the strategies, it's about, having open, authentic communication, building the trust between you and your peers and you and your boss, and that is all part of the game. It's not how good I am only, obviously,
Mm,
also what my
mm,
skills, that's all very important. But the other major skill and experience is how can you relate to other people, and how authentic is your communication? How effective is it? How influential is it? Hence, our
mm,
podcast is called Leading with Influence, because this
mm.
all contributes to your level of influence.
Yeah, and there's three major ways of being that are involved in that. So firstly, awareness. The healthier relationship with awareness, the more you are interested in being aware, shall we say. That's one way of putting it. If you say, I am going to go out of my way to be as aware as I possibly can, that will help. You will notice things that you otherwise would walk past and question them. So I talk about living life with a question mark in that context. Second one is vulnerability. Be prepared to take feedback. In fact, ideally, go seek it. Don't be afraid of going to talk to your boss about what you want. Be vulnerable. Be strong and courageous. That's a healthy relationship with vulnerability. You can be vulnerable. And if you get news that you don't want to hear, well, then look at it and say, well, is this true? Is this true? Am I underqualified? Am I doing working harder? Whatever the feedback is, it could be true. And if you just wipe it off because you say, well, I don't like to hear that, that goes to the third part, which is authenticity, your
Mm,
relationship with what is true.
mm.
And when you can start admitting that bad things, that you have faults, welcome to the human race. All
Yep,
right.
yep,
You, you don't have faults. I got to suggest to you that you're probably not human.
yep. And you may have noticed that we always in our podcast kind of let flow in our little mistakes and faults that we've done through the years. And
Yeah.
now we can laugh about it. Obviously, at the time, it's not necessarily so funny. Um, yeah,
Well, my
I
story of the day, it was downright humiliating, but you know
it
what?
was
I
downright
learned from it.
God.
So, and I thank the man all the time. And that's been a long time. It was 40 years ago that happened. So there we are. But
And
look,
and
you go.
yeah, regarding that experience you shared, it takes some level of care of this manager or boss that you had. Maybe it wasn't your direct boss, or the CEO, actually taking time um, to give you this lesson.
Well, it was a compliment, really, Jack. And I think that told me that's probably somebody that I would like to work for. I never did, but did work with again, which was
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
So we're running out of time here.
yeah,
So
yeah.
the
We
questions
have done.
are you on the right career path? And I think the answer to that is go ask your boss
I'll
and your
go ask
wife.
your boss and see
And see how you're going. Start the
see how you
conversation.
go.
Start the conversation. Talk to somebody like Jacqueline and I. Obviously, we have got a great deal of experience and we're keen on coaching people. And if you want to, by the way, if you want a subject for us to talk about, email us, bring it down below, your comments, like, share. Thank you very much. And next week. See you next week.
Until next week. Cool.